Hello and welcome to the very first episode of NBA Picks and Props. My name is Dexter Henry, and I'm here on the Props Network with a couple members, good friends of mine, members of my Backpack Broadcasting crew. Want to introduce them and tell you a little bit about the show. We're going to talk about NBA future picks and prop bets. We're excited to start this on the Props Network. I'm a lifelong NBA junkie and also a long-suffering, as you can tell from right behind me, Knicks fan. There's more therapy behind that. We'll get to that at some point. But I want to introduce the guys who are going to be rocking with me on this. First up, from my co-host from the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast, my man, Brian Fonseca, also a writer for Deadspin, does a lot of great work. And he is a Miami Heat fan, although he doesn't like to
no, I'm not.
admit it. He's going to tell you guys now that is not the case. Brian, man, glad to have you on this ride as well. Also part of this ride, my man, Gerard Hector. He is one of the co-hosts of the Seven Footers podcast. You can also see his work also with True Hoop. He does a lot of good stuff about that. Fellow basketball junkie like me and dog owner. He loves his dog. So I know a little bit about that.
True, you do.
I do. And last but not least, my man, Jamal Murphy. He is also has his own podcast, a really dope podcast called The Bros Pod with the great William Roden. Also a contributor to The Undefeated. Jamal, Brian, Gerard, what's up, y'all?
Excited, man. NBA, let's kick it.
Yeah. So this is really exciting for all of us. We are going to talk some NBA and bets. Obviously, the season just a few days away, guys. I know if everybody's like me, you got League Pass ready. You're ready to watch these games. You're ready to bet on these games like a lot of people are out here as well. So we're going to look at some of this stuff and some of the odds that's going on. Now, some of the biggest things that people look at when it comes to the NBA is obviously the over-under for wins. And what we did here for you is we identified 10 teams that we thought were the most interesting to look at in terms of over-under for wins. So how we're going to rock through this is I'm going to name the team, and then I'm going to have each of the guys tell me, we're going to go with the over-under number, and all of our over-unders are from BetMGM. And we're going to look at that over-under number, and the guys are going to tell me whether they would take the over and under, why, and if they would take this bet or stay away from this bet. So our first team is the Philadelphia 76ers. BetMGM has them at 43.5. That is wins for the season. Now, before we get to this, I want to let everybody know this is a 72-game regular season, not an 82-game regular season. So we're talking about 72 games. We've thought about this and adjusting how we would take these over-unders. First up, I'm going to start with you, Gerard. The 76ers.
Exactly who I wanted to start.
Okay.
Why? So you can bite off my stuff? No,
because I want you to start talking about Ben Simmons to begin this.
That was kind of my reason for picking Gerard first, too. Gerard, 43.5. What are your thoughts on this with the Sixers?
I'd say fair line. I'm going to go over. Now, remember, we're talking about over. I ain't saying they're going to win 48 or 49 games. They're going to win probably 44 games, maybe 45. So I'll take the over there. Look, I think this squad is, when you have two guys in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid who are all NBA caliber players and all defense caliber players, that shit has to work. I don't care. You got to figure it out. And new president of basketball operations, Daryl Morey's in the house, and the roster fits together a little bit better than it did in the past. So, and they got Doc Rivers. So, all that together, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, I guess, and say they're going to go over. But, this is the year. If they don't, you got to break that thing up, unfortunately.
All right. You got them with the over. Murph, you are, I won't call you a Ben Simmons fan, but I know you have championed for him for the people that don't like the fact that he doesn't necessarily shoot the ball from the outside that often. 43.5 wins for the Sixers. Yay or nay?
It's really close for me, but I'm going to say that I'm going to take the over. But I would stay away from this bet. It's just really close to me. I think they will end up in around that range. I think they'll be better than they were last year with Doc Rivers, with Morey adding more shooting and all that. Ben Simmons even took had a 3-point attempt last night. So I was doing cartwheels, so that's a good sign. But I'm going to take the over slightly, but I would stay away from this bet.
Okay. All right, Brian, I saved you for last since you wanted everybody else to go ahead of you. What are your thoughts on this Sixers team and with the 43.5 wins at that line?
kind of in the same place as Murph, where I mean, I'll guess over, but I ain't gonna take the bet. 43.5 doesn't sound great to me for a team that like I still don't know if Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid even like each other. I'm not sure how Doc Rivers is going to help. I think he is going to help to some degree. I also think Daryl Morey could turn around and end up swinging a trade for James Harden. And that might swing my opinion one way or the other. And I don't know which way, to be honest with you. So I think that, it's a bet that I would stay away from. But I'll take the over. But like Gerard said, probably like 44, 45 wins, not like way over.
So I think we're all kind of on the same page here. And I'm definitely with you. I would take the overs on this, but I'm cautious. And I also would stay away from this. I think what would really take the Sixers to the next step is, one, they have a lot of new pieces. We're going to have to see how that chemistry works out. And then we don't know if Ben Simmons is going to actually shoot. We hope that he does finally. But I like this for the over. But guys, I'm like you. I would stay away from this. I'm not touching this at all. All right, moving on. A team rival of the Sixers, if we want to say that, the Boston Celtics. They are at 44.5 wins. Now, Brian Fonseca absolutely loves, for our viewers and listeners, he loves the city of Boston. This is where he wants to live. He loves Boston more than anything in the world. 44.5, Brian. What you got with the Celtics?
That's a joke, by the way, just so because people aren't gonna know.
Okay.
You love Beantown.
I mean, look, Kemba Walker. Yeah, y'all know I like Kemba Walker.
He ain't playing until January.
Right. I do like the Jeff Teague signing, though, so I will say that it's a good, stable sort of situation there. Look, a lot of people think Boston's going to be worse, and I don't, because I think they're overplaying the impact that Gordon Hayward actually had on this team, and Gordon Hayward was barely healthy in his time that he was there, so I don't think this absence is going to really hurt them that much. I actually think Tristan Thompson could help them significantly because he's exactly the kind of center that they need, along with the other guys that they have. I'm going to take the over because I actually think they can get to the Eastern Conference Finals and probably even the NBA Finals if everything breaks right. I'm expecting Kemba, when he is healthy, to be as good as he was before the injury last year, and I'm expecting a jump from both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to really ascend to that top 20 sort of NBA range.
Murph, I see you nodding your head a little bit. Are you feeling what Brian said there?
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I'm taking the over, but it's another stay away for me because I think it's close. It's too close to call. But if I had to do it, I'll take the over. It's the injury situation. It's Kemba Walker. He's supposed to come back in January. That knee injury sounds very, very iffy. He had to, get some sort of injection from another country. That's never good. And also Tristan Thompson, I like that pickup, but he's hurt right now. I think that they'll be better. I think that, Brown and Tatum do take that jump and take that momentum that they got in the bubble. But the Kemba injury worries me. So, yes, over, but stay away from
it. Gerard, what about you? We also know you have a fondness for the coach of the Boston Celtics, Brad Stevens. You think he is the greatest coach of all time.
Yes.
We know this. So with that being said, I expect you to say over here, right?
As everyone knows, I hate the Boston Celtics and hate Brad Stevens. No. I think Brad's good. I just don't think he invented the game of basketball like my man Jamal Murphy thinks. Look, here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to do with the Boston Celtics. I'm actually going to go with the over. I'm going to bang the over. I'm saying, go ahead and take that bet because here's what they do have.
You love Brad Simmons.
Brad
Stevens.
Me and Brad. But no, honestly, what I'm going to say is the institutional knowledge. I love that. In the fact that Brad's been there, the continuity with Danny, with Jason Tatum, with Jaylen Brown. Yes, the Kemba injury does worry me, and I'm concerned about some of the other ancillary parts on that team. However, those guys with Brad are good enough to win a lot of regular season games. Now, are they going to the NBA Finals like Brian thinks? Hell no. But that's a different conversation.
I said they could. We know who I think is going to the finals.
They ain't even going to the conference finals.
We know who I think is going to the NBA finals. We'll get to that a little bit later.
I'll say this. I actually disagree with everyone here. I'm taking the under with the Celtics. I'm concerned about the Kemba injury. Like Murph said, whenever you got to go get that done in another country, not a good thing.
Wait, if it's Germany, you good though. No.
I guess
In
that's
Probably
what way?
given the current state of everything right now, he's probably better off not in America anyway. But that's another story.
that's a whole nother story. I'm not necessarily sure this team has enough scoring off the bench. I do have concerns. Brian, I do disagree with you. I do think Hayward, you didn't say that he didn't have a good impact, but I do think Hayward's impact that he had is going to be felt by him leaving and going to Charlotte. Now, they may replace that collectively, but I'm not 100% sure of this. This is one I feel strongly and good about taking the under on this. I take the under on this. Yeah, I don't think the Celtics are going to necessarily have a great regular season, but I will say this, and we'll get to this later. I could see them being very dangerous in the playoffs and that they will figure things out by the end of the season. But in terms of these wins, nah, I'm gonna take the under here. All
Y'all
right.
ain't got no respect for the Time Lord? Damn.
No, we do not have any respect for the Time Lord. No, we do not. All right, moving on. Western Conference team. Here we go. Golden State Warriors 37.5, according to BetMGM. I think this is obviously a very interesting situation with the Warriors. We've seen them. Just their dynasty is kind of over. Klay Thompson injury kind of shattered any hopes that people thought of them maybe being a top 4 seed in the West. 37.5. Rod, I'll start with you. What do you think of the Warriors and what they can do this year?
I'm going to go with the over, but it's a stay away. And it's not the main thing is they're still trying to figure out who they are. The Klay Thompson injury is devastating. This is the Western Conference. Do I think Steph is going to be Steph and do all the stuff that he does? Yeah, but who else is going to do anything on that team? Draymond and Wiseman had COVID, and they're now just getting back to practice. Draymond will not be playing in the first couple of games to start the season. I just, where's the rest of their scoring going to come from? You a believer in Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre Jr.? I'm not. Now, if you take the over and you bet it hard, you have to believe that Steph Curry and the culture and all that around Golden State is going to unlock those two dudes and make them into a dynamite offensive team. I don't actually see it. I think their chance to be really good is defensively, but it's going to take them a long time to get there. So I'll say slight over, but stay away. Where'd you go, Dex?
Murph. I'm still here. Sorry, guys. I was asking Murph what does he think about this in the Warriors? Do you agree with Gerard on that? Stay away.
No, I'm actually gonna go hard and take the over here. That was 37.5. That's about what they'd have to be 38 and 34 if my math is correct. I think that's something they should be able to do. Steph will be on a mission. I think Steve Kerr will be on a mission. Steve Kerr really, will have to show, what kind of coach he really is now that he doesn't have, an absolute dynasty on his hands. I'm hearing good things about Wiseman, Wiggins and Oubre. I think, if Kerr does his job, he can get a lot out of them. I think Eric Pascal will have a strong second year. So I say go hard on that over of 37.5.
Uh-oh, Brian, the way I see your face tells me you probably do not agree with Murph. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm taking the under. I just don't feel so strongly about this because I just don't quite know what to expect. I'm high on James Wiseman, and I may touch on that later, but as far as everything else on the team, I just kind of need to see what it looks like. I know last year we expected Steph Curry to just lead the league in scoring and go crazy because he was quote unquote by himself, and then he broke his hand and that didn't end up working out. So right now I'm just looking at this and I don't really know what to sort of expect out of it. So it's a bet that I would, one, stay away from, but two, also, like, if I had to choose, gun in my head or knife to the throat, as I like to say, I would take the under.
I'm with y'all on this, right? I'm taking the under. I would stay away from this. It kind of goes to what Gerard said. Who do you trust on this team after Steph and Draymond? I'm not necessarily so sure. Like to think that James Wiseman can be really good. Kelly Oubre is a nice player, but is he going to really give you, what you have from Klay Thompson? Obviously not. Does anybody trust Andrew Wiggins? I don't think anybody here would raise their hand and say that. So I would stay away from this. Would it shock me if the Warriors were 36 and 36 and a 500 team? No, that's kind of about where I see them, but I'd stay away. But if I had to choose, I'm taking the under on this. All right, next team. This is for Brian. You know we're starting with him for this game. You know we are starting with him.
He is not a fan, though. Remember,
he's not a fan. I'm sorry. He's not a fan. Although I do believe he has a T-shirt somewhere that says "Heat Coker."
I know.
I heard you cop the Tyler Hero scarf.
All right, so everybody here just knows we are talking about Brian Fonseca's Miami Heat. They are at 43.5 wins according to BetMGM. Brian, what is your team going to do this year? Let us know. What's your pick?
43.5, which means if I went even slightly over, it would be 44 and 28, if my math is correct. So with Miami, I'm making love to the over. I'm letting you know right now. I'm straight up like, listen, this team is deeper than people expect or people think, especially as it relates to last season where, people were just like, oh, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, and Jimmy Butler's fucking stupid because he, went to a team that, didn't make the playoffs last year and all this bullshit, and then they ended up going to the NBA Finals. They're just going to figure it out. They have KZ Okpala, who is dangerous, and people don't know about him, and they just kept him with a sore Achilles out all last season, and he's going to be super impactful right away. They got a two-way Max Struss, who's kind of like Duncan Robinson 2.0. It's ridiculous. Like they're going to be over, and they might go to the NBA Finals again.
Wow.
Right.
Does anybody want to tell Brian to calm down? It's not going to be me. So who's going to tell Brian to calm down?
All I'm going to say is I will take the over. I think it's a stay away, though, not because I don't think anything Brian said was true. That's all very true. What concerns me about them is the short turnaround from going to the finals at the end of last season, going into this season. And because notoriously how the Heat like to work their players from a physical standpoint. They are always the most well-conditioned team in the league, all that, and I love it. However, there comes a tax and a price at some end, right? And is Spo and really the Godfather Pat Riley willing to take their foot off the gas a little bit to make sure that your guys are healthy for the back end of the season, right? This is a lot of high-level basketball in a condensed, compressed amount of time. They're excellent. Would it shock me if they go back to the finals? No. But if they didn't, it also wouldn't shock me there as well. So I like the over, but it's a stay away from me.
What about you, Murph? Are you staying away on this one, or is this something you would bet with the Miami Heat?
No, I would definitely take this. I'll go strong over 43.5. That 44 and 28. Remember, this is an experienced team. Again, they're another team that's building off of the momentum of the bubble. They have great chemistry. Most of their guys are coming back. They have a great culture, as we all know. So I think this kind of season with COVID and a lot of unknowns, Miami is not one of those unknowns. I mean, they should be able. They're very mature team. They're going to do everything to stay healthy too, to avoid getting COVID, which is another thing we should probably talk about. Teams that we would have issues with in that area, but also the improvement of Bam, Hero, and Duncan. I think that that goes without saying. Those guys are going to improve. So I would go strong on the over here. I think they'll have a great regular season.
So, Murph, you hit on a lot of things that I actually like, too, with this Heat team. I'm taking the over. I love this number for Miami. Maybe not as much as Brian loves it, but I do love it here, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with something you said, Murph, continuity. There's a lot of people doubting this team. There's a lot of people, you look, and we'll get into this with the odds. A lot of the odds for this team to make the finals is lower than somebody who was a finalist last year, which would maybe make them a good bet. But in terms of the over-under for wins, I like them here. I like the continuity of this team. I think that matters in the season. I think Bam Adebayo is going to take the next step. I like what I've seen out of him in preseason, along with Tyler Hero. So this is one I would take, man. I would absolutely take this one. I'm going to take the over. It wouldn't shock me if Miami was top 2 or 3 in the East. All right, we're going to keep it to another team in the Southeast Division. That is the Charlotte Hornets. Yes, we are actually talking about the Charlotte Hornets, people. They are at 26.5 wins.
Please start with Gerard. Please start with Gerard.
All right, Brian.
I could guess this one.
Brian has requested that we start with Gerard. Gerard, 26.5 wins for the Charlotte Hornets. What do you say?
Bang this under hard as if your life depends on it. It is the Charlotte Hornets. Like, what the hell is going on? Jordan's already hurt again. Like, listen, Michael Jordan is the GOAT. If LeBron passes him, whatever. I mean, he's one of 3 greatest players of all time. But as an owner, dear God, what are they doing down there? Like, I don't like anybody on that roster. Like, who's good? Terry Rozier? I mean, all right. Like, yeah, you got LaMelo, so you can get excited about that. But, like, LaMelo can't shoot. I mean, you know what he's going to do? He's going to kill Bleacher Report with all them dope behind-the-back passes. So that'll be cool for, like, your Q rating. Wins? Nah. Bang that under hard and take it.
All right. Brian, since you passed it on to Gerard, what do you say about the Charlotte Hornets?
I'm not banging the under necessarily. There's some talent on that team, and 26.5 feels kind of low. This is just a stay away from me because the unpredictability of LaMelo Ball just scares me. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of know what this is going to be on some nights, but then there's going to be a 3 for 17 here, and then other times he's just going to light it up. And then I don't know. I still don't expect them to have Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier as teammates with LaMelo Ball all season long. Gordon Hayward is already hurt. He'll probably get hurt again. Bridges, PJ Washington. There's just a lot going on there. 26.5 feels kind of low, but I mean, even in this season, but I don't know. I just don't know.
Murph, you like the Hornets?
It's definitely a stay away from me. If I had to pick, I'm going to be a little more optimistic and say that they would get the over. If I absolutely had to pick, I am a fan of LaMelo. I think he can shoot a little bit. I think he makes everybody better, believe it or not. I know he has all this, negativity around him, mostly due to his father. We've seen this before. But I mean, when I look at him as a basketball player, I'm very impressed, and I think they have other pieces who he will help, like PJ Washington, Rozier, Graham, and Bridges. But it's still a show me situation. He's a rookie. What can he really do? In his first season. So yes, I'm slightly optimistic they can get the over, but it's definitely a stay away.
I'm the opposite. I have no optimism here. I'm with Gerard. I am taking the under. I think this is a great bet for anyone to take. I don't trust anybody on this team. I think LaMelo will be exciting, Murph. I do agree with that. But does anybody trust Gordon Hayward to stay healthy? I don't. And he's already fractured his hand in the preseason. I would take the under on this all the way. I'm not going to say more about this because they're the Charlotte Hornets. Much more about them. All right, moving right along to another Southeast Division team, the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I think this team is everyone's darling pick to be the 8th seed this year. They've had an interesting offseason. I won't say whether it's great or not. Had some really good auditions, getting Bogdanovich, getting Danilo Gallinari. They traded for Clint Capella last year, right before the pandemic. Atlanta Hawks, 34.5 wins. Murph, what do you think about this team in the ATL?
Well, as you all know, I love Trae Young. Ever since back in the day in college, when none of you guys believed me that he would be a very good player in the NBA. But hey, sometimes people just have to find out on their own. But no, I mean, so in that vein, I'm rooting for him. But this is another stay away from me. But I'm rooting for him. I'll lean to the over. Lloyd Pierce, I'm rooting for him, to do a good job here. But he has to show me that he can really coach, especially when you add all this talent. So there could be chemistry issues, especially with Trae Young, because he is a shoot first guy and he's flair for the dramatic. That doesn't always play well with teammates who want to get their shots also. They added Bogdanovich and Gallinari. You have a year older Reddish and Hunter. They're looking good. So they have all the talent in the world. They got Rondo. Does he help with chemistry? I'm not sure. As a vet, you would think. But, he's been known to be cantankerous himself. So it's very close. I'm leaning over. Stay the hell away.
Stay the hell away. All right. I had to go to you first, Murph, because we know you love Trae Young. Brian, the Hawks, 34.5, yay or nay?
When all this happened, like Danilo Gallinari, Bogdanovich, and all these acquisitions, I love Chris Dunn. As you guys know, as a defensive player, he's one of my favorites to watch in the league. I would have leaned strong over at one point. Now, the more that I sort of think about it, I'm like, this can kind of just blow up in the opposite direction. But I'm for me, it's more of a stay away. And if it's over, it's not much over because you'd be talking about a 500 team, and I think they can go 500. But I wouldn't be surprised if this just sort of slips in the other direction and just things just don't work out. It just feels like one of these situations where it's cool. You win the offseason, you get a lot of good free agents, and you get this guy and this dude, and then it just doesn't work out. And I could see that happening as well. It wouldn't shock me, but I would probably lean for now slight over.
Gerard, do you have the same sort of trepidation? Because that's the kind of vibe I'm feeling too. Well, I'll talk about that. But do you have the same sort of trepidation here with the Hawks?
Yeah, so of course all Murph's comments are targeted towards me because I said Trae Young had high bust potential. I didn't say he would be a bust. I said he had high bust potential.
Hey, I was thinking about all of you guys.
I mean, listen, Trae is much better than I thought he would be. Kudos. Look, I think it's a stay away as well. I'm gonna take the over slightly, but this is the year, man. This team has a lot of talent on it with Trae, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, my man Kevin Huerter, Reddish, Gallinari, all the guys we talked about. Bogdanovich is here. Rondo. Look, this team should make the playoffs. If they don't, however, Lloyd Pierce, and Travis Schlenk. Oh man, y'all better start, maybe looking for some new jobs soon because it's time now. The talent is here. You're young enough and you're good enough at that, particularly the bottom part of the East. I ain't saying they're going to be a 4 seed, but especially the play-in, that 10, 9, 8 range, they got to be there. If they're not, I don't know. But stay away because I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on this real quick. I would stay away from this. I see the Hawks as a kind of 500 team. If they finish 36-36, wouldn't shock me. Is that good enough to probably get them 7-8 in the East? Probably. And like Gerard said, they should. And if they don't, there's going to be a lot of problems. But I would take the over. Not confident in it. Brian's not wrong because he's blown up and going the other way. I'd stay away from this one. All right. This is a team I'm really excited about, guys. A Western Conference team. I think they've been getting a little disrespect early in the year. Portland Trailblazers. BetMGM has them at 40.5 wins. Gerard, I'll start with you on this one. I love what the Blazers have done in terms of depth this offseason. They got rid of some Clown Whiteside who doesn't anything. But I like this team. I think the numbers and projections around them for wins have been very interesting throughout. What do you think about the Trailblazers, the number at 40.5?
Once again, continuity is what I like here. Dame, CJ, Coach Stotts. I mean, they've been together for seems like a zillion years. So I'm going to go with the over here. I'm not like bang it hard, but I like the over here with these guys. I know Brian loves him some Dame Lillard. I'm sure we'll get to that later. Look, my concern with them is not the regular season. I think they'll win a ton of regular season games. My concern with Portland is always the postseason. But that ain't what this is about. This is about over under regular season wins. So I say over. I like it. So go with it.
All right, Brian, we know you are the captain of the Damian Lillard fan club when you were not being a Miami Heat fan.
First, I'm a Heat fan. Then it goes to Damian Lillard.
Later
on, I have a prediction that y'all are going to be like, oh, yeah, I forgot you love that guy, too. We'll get to that later.
We just got to let the people know who you are and what you're about, man. So what are you about in terms of the Portland Trailblazers?
Oh, I'm destroying the over on this. I mean, it's like I'm just I guess plays it a role here, but 40 is way too low. I actually think that this can be the best team in the Western Conference as far as the regular season goes.
Wow.
I actually think they could end up with the best record in the Western Conference because they were not that far 2 years ago. Then last year they had injuries. Yusuf Nurkic, a significant one, and he came back and looked really good. And if he plays that good this year, I think they could not only just have a great record, I also think that gives them a shot against the Lakers because you need somebody with size to play against the Lakers. And I think that he provides them that. I also love their depth. They made some moves that I found very intriguing. Harry Giles in the offseason. That was one of those low-key ones that I really liked. Derrick Jones Jr. from the Miami Heat. Robert Covington, who they traded for. Carmelo Anthony's back, and I think that's actually going to help them, whether he starts or comes off the bench. Rodney Hood is back. Nasir Little will see. Anthony Simons will see. I also think they sneaky could make a big trade at some point because of all those pieces I'm mentioning, and that's going to help them as well, if they decide to go that route. But I think behind Damian Lillard, this is a team that could not only get over 40 wins, I think they could be closer to 50 wins at the end of the season.
That is a big statement Team Miami Heat, Team Portland Trailblazers. Murph, do you like the Blazers as much as Brian does?
No, not at all. So I'm going to throw some negativity their way, little hateration. But no, I mean, Portland, nice to me. They're a good story. They seem to be healthier right now, but they've never really, separated themselves in the West. My big thing is how is that the West is a beast, and it still is a beast, and there are a lot of good teams in the West. And in the past couple of years, Portland has never been able to prove that they were really upper echelon team, and I don't think they will do that this year. So I'm going to take the under, and it's a strong take for me, actually.
Wow, you're taking the under on that. This is one of the teams, as I said before, I love their depth. I'm not as high as Brian. I could see them being the third best team in the West. I'm not going to go say they're going to be the best team in the West. I think Brian's drinking a little bit too much of the Trailblazers juice there. But I do like the depth. I do like some of the moves that we heard Gerard talk about. I would definitely bang the over on this with the Trailblazers. But who knows? We'll see. We're going to see what our records are as we do this. Murph might be right, and we might all look stupid. So we'll see.
That's what I'm hoping for.
You're hoping that we all look stupid? Damn, that's that. Murph just wants to win. That's all about it. All right. We're going to keep it in the Western Conference, guys. 8th team on our list, Phoenix Suns. Now, they are at 38.5 wins. That's according to BetMGM. Obviously, big trade in the offseason for Chris Paul, CP3. Now with the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns obviously had a great bubble, so a lot of people want to ride the wave of that. I'm going to start this off with Murph. We'll just go with you. Are you negative on the Suns as well, too?
No, I'm very high on the Suns. I'm going to bang the over here. Chris Paul, love him or hate him, in terms of, it all depends on whether he's on your team usually. And I think him on Phoenix is a very good combination when you have Booker and Ayton. You know what I'm saying? So I think they have a lot of talent. I think Chris Paul helps them. I think they'll get over that 38.5. I think they might be better than a Portland, for instance. And Monty Williams, very good coach, has them playing hard. They play defense now. I think Crowder was a very sneaky pickup. He's helped, he's helped a lot, on whatever team he's been. I think he's been on about, 20 teams. But wherever he goes, he makes an impact defensively and changes kind of the mentality of the team. So I like Phoenix a lot for that over 38.5.
Okay, Phoenix with the over there from Murph. Gerard, what do you say?
I like the over there as well. Y'all know I love the point guard. I mean, he's phenomenal. And I think he's just going to instill that culture of winning, and he's going to unlock Ayton, Booker, Bridges. Cam Johnson. I like what they have here. And Chris is one of the most competitive players ever in the history of the NBA. He is 100% going to get these guys playing better. I love what Monty Williams is doing as a coach. So I like the over here.
All right. Brian, I have to mention this comment to you. We have Eric Chang, who's
I've
watching
never
YouTube.
smoked before.
He said Brian has that good weed since you picked the Blazers to be number one in the West.
I said they could.
Good. And blazing and weed kind of go together. So that's actually kind of interesting.
It's just a contact.
I've never smoked, but people have accused me of such because I've, the way I act sometimes.
Yeah, I can see that. Are you as high on the Suns in this case with a 38.5?
It's a slight over to me, but it's definitely an over. I think that I would peg them in the low 40s in terms of wins, just to be a little bit safe. Although I do think there's potential for them to finish the season 45-27 or something along those lines. But that just feels a little bit high, no pun intended. And I would like to see just how it plays out. I'm very optimistic, though, about DeAndre Ayton and what he's going to do this season with Chris Paul. I think that's the person who's going to benefit the most from Chris Paul being in Phoenix, even including Devin Booker, who I think is going to return with another good and meaningful season. And it's worth noting that Chris Paul, doing what he did last year in OKC, was on a much less talented team than he's on now. Now, talent doesn't always matter, as you know, I know, but with this team, I think it's just going to work out starting with those three guys and then trickling on down. But I'm very optimistic about the season DeAndre is going to have in particular with Chris Paul.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple for me on this. I'm not betting against Chris Paul and the impact that he has here. So I take the Suns. over with that 38.5. Okay, we got two more teams to go. Real quick, Denver Nuggets 44.5. Interesting. Michael Porter Jr. is Gerard's boy. Gerard, what you got for the Nuggets?
Yes, everyone knows I love MPJ. I'm going to go with a slight under here, but it's a stay away. And it's only because their late run in the bubble, again, you guys know I concerned about a lot of high-level basketball in a short amount of time. Two, I think that the Jeremy Grant, him leaving is going to hurt them a little bit, particularly in the regular season. One of the things that was great about Denver last year was they were actually sneakily good defensively. Everybody knows what they were, how good they were offensively. Yes, of course, with Jokic and Jamal Murray going nuts. But can they tighten up their defense? And I'm not sure game to game if it's going to be on point like it has been. Yes, getting Barton and Harris back is going to help, but I'm not 100% sure. So for me, I would say a slight under, but it's a stay away because, look, Jamal Murray could go nuts and repeat his performance in the bubble, and, they could win 50 games. But I say slight under, but stay away.
Yeah, I can see that because there's a lot with that team you don't know. Murph, what do you say about the Nuggets?
I'm high on the Nuggets. I would bang the over here. Again, it's along the same lines of Miami. There's continuity, momentum. Based on the bubble, they all have that confidence. They know that they should be one of the top teams in the East. I actually think that they will contend for a number one seed here like they did a couple years ago. I think they're one of the strongest teams in the West, obviously. Jamal Murray, Jokic, Barton is back. Also, he wasn't in the bubble. You got Porter, who should be better. And don't forget Bol, who I love. He's just a fascinating player to watch for me. He's actually made statements, and we'll get into this later, saying that he wants to be Rookie of the Year. So I think, Porter and Bol can kind of make up for the loss of Grant. I agree that the loss of Grant could be big, but I'm high on Denver. Bang the over of 44.5.
Bang. Are you banging or are you still high, Brian, with the Nuggets?
The 44.5 seems low to me, so I'm going to take the over there. I also, in my Western Conference sort of power rankings, the Lakers are 1, Portland's 2. I have Denver 3rd. I have the Clippers 4th, but that's another story. As of right now, I think, I'm high on Denver as well. I think they can even get close to that 50-win total, and that wouldn't shock me. I do think that loss is going to hurt them with Grant going to Detroit, but I do like their depth a lot. We haven't mentioned Campazzo yet, and that dude is an insane passer, and I'm curious to see what role he's going to play on the Denver Nuggets coming off the bench. But with Jamal Murray, I need to see if the Jamal Murray he showed in the bubble, if that's going to just carry over in a way that everyone seems to think it will. I'm curious to see if that happens, because if that happens, then they could win the Western Conference, because that gives them an automatic second star next to Nikola Jokic if he could do that for not just a bubble, but for an entire season. So that's something to watch. So I would take the over here.
So I'm not as concerned about Jamal Murray and will he continue that. I'm a little bit more concerned about their front court depth, losing Jeremy Grant. But like Murphy, can we see a guy like Bol step in and have a really good role? We expect Michael Porter Jr. to take that next step. We'll see. I'm just shaky on where this is in the Nuggets. I could see them as high as 2 because of continuity, like Murph said, but I could see them maybe, being a little lower, like 4 or 5. So I'm not confident on this. I'd stay away from the Nuggets, but I'm inclined to lean towards taking the under here. All right, our last team. Is everybody for this? Is everybody
ready?
Start.
You
want
start.
me to start with this? All right, I'll start. You know what? You're right. I should start with this. As a Knicks fan. 21.5, according to BetMGM. Now, the Knicks are the Knicks. The Knicks do Knicks stuff. They always mess stuff up. They mess up their draft of all these problems. But there's one thing I do have some optimism with the Knicks. Yes, there's optimism with the Knicks. Yeah, I know. Everybody's getting, no, I'm not picking them to win the league. No, I'm not saying they're going to win a championship. No, I'm not a delusional. Ever. That's good. No, I'm not a delusional Knicks fan. But what I will say here is I like the culture and tone that Tom Thibodeau is setting here. So I think he's going to get these guys to play hard. 21.5 wins might be a lot for them, even in a 72-game season. However, I think Obi Toppin's going to have a big impact. I'm going to get to that later. And I think they're going to take some wins from some teams that they may not have necessarily always done. The key thing is to remember here is the Eastern Conference teams are going to play Western Conference teams a little bit more than they normally would have in the season because the way the schedule is going to be balanced out. However, I'm going to surprise some people here. I'm taking the over for the Knicks. I think the Knicks will finish with 23 wins this year. Nothing to get excited or write home about, but I think the Knicks are going to push too and get 23 wins. Maybe I'm smoking some of the same weed. Not saying that I am or doing that Brian was earlier, but I'm feeling a little high in the Knicks. I'm taking the over. I'm being positive. Is anybody else going to come and be positive with me? Tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, I'll say this. And I wish Brian, as someone who just finished watching The Wire, the scene I'm thinking of right now is Weebay in the apartment.
Right messed up their draft again, yo.
Exactly. That is exactly what I'm thinking right now. The Knicks done messed up their draft again. Now, I don't think they did that this time because I really like Obi Toppin. But look, for the Knicks, it's a show me thing with them, right? Like, y'all been who you've been for the last 25 years. Do I think Thibodeau and William Wesley and Leon Rose is a step in the right direction? Yes. And do I think they can do some things? Sure, if they are allowed to do those things. But 21.5 to me, I could see slight over, slight under, so I'll stay away. But I'll stay away, but I'll say, if I had to, slight under. But I do like Obi Toppin a ton, and we have to find out what's good with your man Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina, like RJ Barrett. Yo, what's up? Like, are we rolling with these dudes or not?
Brian, come on, man. Rock with me. Somebody else has to be high in the mix. Y'all can't leave me out here alone on an island with this. Please.
Knicks Island, baby.
Knicks Island.
So as an RJ Barrett optimist, I'm taking the over here because I think that he is the obvious key to this. Like, the over would be, in my prediction, maybe 23, maybe even 25 wins. And you'd be talking about, RJ Barrett has actually taken the next step and is averaging 18 to 20-ish a game, is still rebounding the ball well, and is hitting more free throws. He looks good when Julius Randle gets the fuck out of his way when they play basketball together, right? Emmanuel Quickley has shown some stuff in the preseason. Granted, they've been playing the Cleveland Cavs over and over, but Emmanuel Quickley looks like somebody who he's shown me enough that I'd start him at point guard. Not right now. Let him come off the bench, be a spark plug first for like a month or two. And then later on in the season, I would start him at point guard because he's going to give you something dynamic at that position that Elfrid Payton nor Austin Rivers is going to provide. And then elsewhere, I think Obi Toppin's actually going to have, I agree with Dexter. He's going to have a significant impact on the season. I'm not saying he's going to average 20 and 10. I'm not saying he's even going to average 15 and like 9 or something like that. But he's going to be impactful as a rookie. I think he's going to be one of the better rookies in the NBA this season. So I would take a slight over here. If it goes under, that would mean that RJ Barrett has just totally flopped his second season, that Obi Toppin just hasn't lived up to expectations, and it means it's all going to shit. But I don't think Tom Thibodeau, who we haven't talked enough about, is going to let that happen. I actually think that he's going to be responsible for them getting some wins that they shouldn't.
Okay. All right. So I like that. You got the over with me. That gives me some optimism. Come on, Murph. Bring it home. Give us some optimism on the next
I'm going to give you some optimism, baby. It's an over, and bang that, okay?
Wow.
Bang that over, and it's all because of Tibbs, okay? I don't think he's ever been anywhere where his team didn't win more games than they were supposed to. That's just his DNA, because they play defense and they play hard. I'm an old school guy. I grew up a Knicks fan, unfortunately. I remember those Riley years. They played tough. They didn't have the most talent in the league, but they were much better than their talent said they should be, because they played hard, gritty, and played defense, and that's what Tibbs brings. So just off that alone, remember, we're only talking about, over 21.5 would mean they're 22 and 50. Okay, they would still be terrible, even getting the over. So there's no fear for me in picking the over here. I agree with what Brian said. I think RJ Barrett has a big year. I think Obi Toppin has a very solid year, and Quickley, I also agree, has been much better than even I thought he would be. Coming out of Kentucky, I wasn't all that high on him myself, but just watching him a couple of games in preseason, he's showing a lot of confidence. Very smart player. He's really the best point guard I think they have right now. So I think he'll get a lot of playing time. So yeah, definitely take that Knicks over. Don't be ashamed.
Woo! You guys gave me hope. I'm excited. Shout out to Eric Chen, who's been rocking with who's been rocking with us watching this. And I got to give you some love, Eric, because you are like me, a Jets, Mets, and Knicks fan. So you know a lot of pain. And you said you want to see just one championship before you're dead, which makes me know you're at least my age or younger. I don't know, man. Just
missed that Mets title in '86, my guy.
Yeah,
it was a good one.
Yeah,
I was there for that. I always remember. Never forget.
The Mets are going to get back there soon.
5 years old, so I don't.
They're going to get back there soon.
New ownership, man.
We'll see. All right, good talk. This is a good talk on the over unders. Everybody check out. Obviously, a lot of different lines out there. We went with what we saw on BetMGM. We are now going to move on quickly to our picks to make the conference finals and NBA finals. We're also looking at BetMGM odds as well on this too. So I want to hear which teams you think are going to make the East and West Conference finals, and maybe a sleeper team that you might take as a bet to go that far in the playoffs. Gerard, I'm going to start with you first on this one because I think it's pretty predictable with someone like Brian, where we know he's definitely going to pick the Heat to go to the conference finals. So I said, let's start with you and see what you got here. Who do you have in the conference finals, and why do you like their odds?
Let's start in the West first, and I am going to go with the Lakers and the Clippers. We actually finally get that matchup we were supposed to get last season, after the Clippers blew that 3-1 lead. Look, I just think that they are the two best teams in the Western Conference. Look, at the end of the day, in this league, talent wins out, and they're just better, man. Like I don't know what else to tell people. And they are, if you look at it, they are the two favorites, right? Coming out of the Western Conference, according to most of the odds sites. Yes, there's Denver. Yes, there's the Mavericks and Golden State and Utah and all these. I mean, Portland. People don't love in Portland as much, Brian, and you know why. I'll get to that another time, but I just think that when the chips are ultimately down, how many players on your team do you have that can get and create their own shot, and can you get stops? And I think the Clippers and Lakers can do that. So I like both of them to get back. I think, again, the Clippers learned from last year. That 3-1 losing it to Denver, that's going to fortify them as a group, come back a little bit stronger this year. In the East, this was a tough one, man. I've been wrestling with this one for freaking weeks. Brian, the Miami Heat are definitely going back to the conference finals. I just, I think while I'm concerned, as I mentioned, the over-unders about the quick turnaround time for them, which is why I didn't go hard on the over for them. I think they will sort of ramp themselves up as the season goes on, and then come playoffs, it's going to bust everybody's ass because they're just really good at all that. And I'm going to say the Brooklyn Nets make the conference finals.
Wow.
I just think that, that team offensively has so much, and I love their depth. If they don't make any moves, and again, this is all barring no injuries, no COVID, all that, that's what I like. And that's actually, what are they, plus 400, the Nets to make the conference finals, I believe. So, I think that's a pretty good value there. So
actually, Gerard, you've got BetMGM has the Nets at plus 250, points bet at plus 275. DraftKings also at plus 275. Miami Heat, who you picked, BetMGM has them at 800. That's pretty the same for PointsBet, and then FanDuel and DraftKings have them at 600 and 650. So some good value there with Miami.
Good value.
Speaking of Miami, you know who we're going to go to next. Brian, do you have the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals?
I mean,
just say yes, man. All you got to do is say yes. You just got to say yes.
Do flies land on shit? Yes, absolutely. Like, I'm taking the Heat to go to the conference finals and perhaps even further. I hope that my webcam will stop acting up here, so let me fix that while I'm talking. But yeah, the Miami Heat, I have them going to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I have joining them. I thought about this a lot, to Gerard's point. Now, the thing with the Nets is that I need to see it sustainable for a certain period of time, because they can look good right now being fresh off the injuries and things of that nature, and it's still early, but like, is Kevin Durant's Achilles going to be sore in March? Is Kyrie Irving going to tweak his knee again in February? Like, these are the things that I'm sort of looking out for as the season goes on. And them being plus 250, I think you said, Dex, right? That isn't high. That isn't good enough value for me to put money on them. So I would go ahead and actually go into the Eastern Conference Finals the Milwaukee Bucks for now, even though what Miami's done to the Milwaukee Bucks in the past. I think if they could avoid that second round matchup, then yes, I feel good about them moving on and going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I like the Drew Holiday pickup. So
what's the value? What's the value on the Bucks? What are they?
What is the value on?
Well, let's look at the Bucks. The Bucks are the favorite for the Eastern Conference winner.
Not much value.
But what I'm saying is I feel more confident about the Bucks actually pulling it off than Brooklyn having too many variables and things of that nature. Boston is a team that I was really looking at to be my dark horse, but I'd rather just be safe and go with the Bucks there. But I'm gonna get money with the Heat, baby, because they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. So we good. You know what I mean? And then in the West, it's Lakers, Portland for me. I'm gonna get the Blazers there because that's where I'm gonna get my value. I know the Lakers are the favorite. The Lakers are the only team, by the way, in the NBA for me that they have to be a lock to get to the Final Four in this situation. So I'm going with the Lakers and Blazers along with the Heat versus the Bucks for now.
Well, the Blazers definitely good value, plus 2,200 with MGM. You want even better value? Look at FanDuel, plus 2,800 for the Blazers. So, all right, good picks there. Murph, who do you have in both the conferences?
Eastern Conference. I like Miami also. I gotta keep it real. They were anything but a fluke last year, and I think they'll be better. This year they have. I feel like they have a little bit more depth. And I think it'll be a rematch of what we saw in the bubble on the Eastern side. I think Boston will get back in there. I'm counting on Kemba coming back strong with that foreign injection in his knee, make it stronger. And I think Boston, they have that experience. And Tate, as I said before, Tatum and Brown will be better this year, and they're already all-star caliber as in any event. So I like Miami, Boston. As in terms of a sleepers in the East, well, Boston is plus 650 at least, and then you have the 76ers, who I wouldn't be surprised either if they were able to put it together and get there, and they're plus 900, I think, to win the Eastern Conference. So I think that would be a nice sleeper pick, and then also the Heat already, who I have, are plus 800. So that's where I'm going in the East. In the West, I like the Lakers and Clippers also. I think I agree totally, even with the narrative that, everybody expected it last year. This is the year that we'll really get Lakers, Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. As far as long shots, I think Denver at plus 1,000 to win the West would be a great great value pick. The Mavs plus 1,400, and really anybody's a value besides the Lakers. So the Clippers at plus 360 is pretty good also.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. In the West, I have Lakers, Clippers in the West, but I do agree that anybody is a great value there. Other than the Lakers, Clippers, I think taking a team like Denver is another good long shot. I also don't think Brian's crazy looking at Portland and the value you can get with them to win the conference. But the Lakers and Clippers are my picks. In the East, I'm going with Miami, and I'm going with the Bucks. If I had to bet in terms of what I think is the safest bet and pick for that, that's what I'm going to go with. But here's the thing: I don't necessarily trust the Bucks that much. I'm a little bit concerned with things with the Bucks. So I might want to go with a little bit of a dark horse. I think things could get a little upset this year in the Eastern Conference. I like the Sixers sitting at, you got them anywhere from plus 900 as high as that, plus 700 as well too. FanDuel has them at that. I like the Sixers if what we think can happen with them, where they've got the good shooting around their two centerpieces and they start to put it together towards the end of the season. So I think when you look at this is something you want to look at. Obviously, we're going to be talking about future bets on the show, but throughout the season and kind of see which teams are starting to play their best ball at the end of the seasons. All right, guys, so we got our conference winners. Who do we have winning it all to win the NBA championship? Very interesting odds on that. The favorite right now across the board is the Lakers. Are the Lakers repeating, guys? Brian, I'll start with you first.
Yeah, I can't really bet against the Lakers here, but I'm going to do it because we're doing a fucking show, and I think that the Miami Heat could actually win the NBA Finals this year because they almost did it last year, and I think they're a little bit better this year. So I'm just going to pick the Heat and make everybody happy, You know what I'm saying? Because I think we're probably going to get Lakers across the board. I don't know. Gerard might pick the Clippers. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. Actually, you might take the Nets, so that's another story. But I'm gonna roll with the Miami Heat defiantly in a season where Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are expected to win all 72 of their games, according to Nets fans on Twitter. According to Nets fans on Twitter who believe that they can do nothing wrong. So I'm just going to go with the Heat against the Lakers in the finals.
So, Brian, according to your pick, you can get great value with the Heat. They're at plus 2,000. PointsBet has them set as that. So there's some really good value if you're looking to take the Heat as your
solidifying, by the way, that Jimmy Butler is better than James Harden. I just want to put that out there.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well,
that is a bold.
You made me look at where the Rockets were on that, and they are anywhere between plus 5,000 and then plus 8,000.
The longest of long shots.
Yeah, the long shots. So if you really want to get good value, maybe take the Rockets, but I wouldn't trust that situation. Murph, who do you got winning the whole thing?
Oh boy.
Who would you pick?
I hope this doesn't happen, but I'm going to pick the Lakers. I'm going to root against them, but I'm going to pick. I think they're just the safest bet to do it again, to get LeBron another ring. I think they'll face Boston. I think Boston will get there, but if I have to put money on it at this point, I got to go with the Lakers. I do think the Clippers. I'm kind of pulling for the Clippers to be able to knock them off, but that point guard situation for the Clippers is still shaky, and I think that really hurt them last season. So I just got, I got to just grin and bear it and go with the Lakers.
All right, Lakers are the favorite, plus 275 pretty much across the board, as you can see. Most sites, PointsBet, you can get them at 250. Gerard, we know you were Team Clippers. Well, the audience doesn't know, but we know you were Team Clippers last year. And they fell short, 3-1 lead. Your boy PG-13.
Okay, why you got to be my boy, though?
It's your boy, and he got shots going off the side of the backboard. You don't want to miss with your picks. We don't want to tell people to miss with the picks as badly as Paul George's shooting was in the Western Conference semifinals. We want people to get things right here. Who do you have winning the title this year?
Look, if you want to make some money or be as close to potentially making money, take the Lakers, right? Because it's still 2-1, so plus 275, you still get decent odds. You'll make some money, right? However, if you look at these next couple teams I'm thinking of, you got good value. The Clippers are plus 600. I love them at plus 600, right? Like that's just excellent value. And do I think that they're talented enough? Yes. But do things have to fall right for them? Yes. Boston, you know how I feel about that. Plus 1,400. I mean, that's woo. Brian, at plus 18. Okay. You know the other team I'm going to say. I don't think it'll happen. But if you want value, again, at that plus 600, the Brooklyn Nets are at plus 600. That's all I'm going to say. But if you want money, Lakers, I like the Clippers at plus 6.
Yeah. So Gerard, I'm with you on this. If you want the safe bet, you got to take the Lakers. I see the Lakers repeating. But could I see the Clippers upsetting them in the Western Conference Finals? Sure. Definitely could see it, especially if they fix their point guard situation, which would make me feel a little bit better about that. Take them there, but they are great value at plus 650. I trust the Clippers more than I would the Nets.
Sure.
I think that situation's shaky for a lot of reasons with Kyrie and KD, and I think Brian would agree with me on that one. But good value, interesting odds in terms of picking the teams. Clippers are great. You can't go wrong with the Clippers there, man. I think that's a really good pick if you're looking for value. Okay, we're going to go through some things really quickly. Regular season awards, guys. This is stuff you see a lot of people put bets on because you're going to be watching this stuff throughout the year. So we're going to go through these awards: MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, and Most Improved Player of the Year. MVP last year obviously was Giannis Antetokounmpo, a back-to-back winner, and also won Defensive Player of the Year. So can he 3 in a row? Does anybody have Giannis? Luka Doncic is the favorite among many people to win this award. What do you say, Brian?
Man, I want to go with Luka Doncic because I actually think he's going to win MVP this year. I just wish that the odds would get you more in return, which would then turn me to somebody like Damian Lillard, as we look at this right now. But I actually like Damian Lillard because he's all the way down at, plus 2,000? Yeah, I like those odds a lot. And as good as I think Portland could be, which, is probably the second seed in the West, that gives him a shot because that gives him a season where he averages maybe 30-6, and he's probably really efficient doing so if they're that good. So if I want money, as far as like, more money for my pick, yeah, I'm going with Damian Lillard. But the safe bet here is obviously Luka Doncic. Kristaps Porzingis is already injured. He may get injured again at some point this year. We know that Luka's probably going to lead the league in usage rate, and he's going to have nights where he just goes crazy. Like 38, 18, and 11 is going to be a normal thing for him. He may average a triple-double, not in a way Russell Westbrook did it, but in a way that like he would actually probably be more efficient as a scorer. So, we'll see. I would go with Luka as the safe bet here. I'm also never mad at LeBron or Giannis or Anthony Davis or the guys that we would, normally pick under these circumstances. So, but Damian Lillard would be my dark horse.
Okay, I like Damian Lillard as a dark horse too. I'll get to that in a bit. Murph, who you have? Are you on the Luka train? I know we've had many discussions about Trae Young over Luka, but that's another story for another day. Are you on the Luka for MVP train here?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Brian that it's the safe bet. I think, first of all, I think the writers are just drooling at the opportunity to give.
Why would that be, Murph?
I don't know, but I just feel it. I just feel it in the air. I think they're just waiting for that opportunity to.
He might be the right choice.
It might be the right choice. But if you want value, I think Anthony Davis is a great value at plus 900. I think he could. I think he has a great chance of getting it. I think this is second year. Watching last year, I always felt like I was missing a little bit of what he could do, what I saw from him at times in New Orleans. Carry a team by himself, to the second round of the playoffs. He didn't really show that in LA, and they still were able to win the championship. I think this year he's more settled. He'll probably, he'll be more comfortable, and we might see the best of Anthony Davis. So, and if we get the best of Anthony Davis, that's an MVP guy. And with those odds, I think, that's a great pick at plus 900. LeBron at plus 800, I think is also a nice, a nice bet for value. And KD at plus 2,000 is great. And also Embiid at plus 4,000 if Doc Rivers can get everything out of him.
All right, interesting stuff there. I feel like Gerard's going to pick Paul George for this. Am I wrong? Right or wrong?
First of all, nobody like Paul George out here.
He's picking Kevin Durant. What do you mean?
You're right about that.
Say is there is a ton of, I think, in the MVP, there's a lot of value everywhere, I think. Yes, Luka's plus 400. That's still decent value at 4-1, I think, personally. So yeah, if you want to make your money, 4-1 plus 400 at Luka, take it, because as we said, this is a narrative-based award, and the narrative says that it's Luka's turn. It is the right time. Excuse me. Now, look, there's some other things to look at here. Steph Curry is so interesting to me at plus 1,100, right? Because look, I know the Warriors got some problems, but if he's the Human Torch and they are, I don't know, a 5 seed and he's averaging 32 a game, people might lose their mind and be like, yo, this guy's amazing. So he's interesting there. Like both of you guys, I love Lillard at plus 2,000. And of course, my sleeper is Kevin Durant at plus 2,000. Like, if the Nets are a top 4 seed and he plays 60-something games and he's leading them in scoring, yeah. We knew you were going to like that. We absolutely knew that. So I am very much on the same page as Murph here. I love Anthony Davis at plus 900. I think that's fantastic value. But Gerard, you make this other good point, right? It is a narrative-based award. And so I can pushing of Luka, although I'm a huge Luka fan. I just have this feeling that if somebody else like an AD, and I'm glad you mentioned Curry at plus 1,100, I think that's also a great mention there too. If AD sort of next step that we saw him take in the playoffs, there's no reason for me to think that he won't continue this, and he is sort of leading Lakers to the top of the conference in wins. I think that's a great bet too. I'm also with you guys on Damian Lillard, 110%, because like Brian and I think they can be pretty strong in the Western Conference, and if they do that, and he's leading the way, he's gonna get a lot of MVP votes. The reason I'm not as high on Luka is I'm just not sure that they are going to get enough wins for him to do that. As much as I love Luka, I'm just not sure Dallas is going to get enough wins, and so it's going to be interesting to see how these odds fluctuate throughout the season. All right, what do you guys want to do next? Want to talk Defensive Player of the Year? It's the right time, Dex. It's the right time.
We should also Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic should also get a mention on this too.
He should.
I don't know what his odds are,
That's
but
true.
he's sort of a dark horse for me also, depending on like how good Denver actually is. But I think he's another one who could benefit from the narrative that Gerard is saying is being pushed to.
The reason why I didn't jump on AD really quickly is I think the Lakers will be slow out the gate. Like I just, all those teams that played late into the bubble.
So that's what
I think they're going to be slow. And it's a narrative thing. You know that. Like it's just people, they start a story and then it's just, all right, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, you brought up Jokic.
Jokic is plus 2,500.
Yep. And you can get Jokic with FanDuel plus 36 right now.
So I might just take a flyer on that just because it's plus 36.
It's not
right.
bad.
And that's something somebody want to do. And we want to let people know when you see us, bringing up, this is information you can all find on the Props Network. Each other, so you just get to go to one place and you can see all these odds. You don't have to go through a bunch of different, do all the research. So that's how we're showing this to you and how you can get this information, and it makes it easier for us. So there's some good value over here. Okay, so guys, I think when it comes to awards, there's some things that can be kind of challenging with some of these. I think it's easy for us to find a pick, but they're not as narrative based as MVP, right? So they can change from year to year, like Defensive Player of the Year or Most Improved Player. Those ones can be a little bit more challenging. Let's start with Defensive Player of the Year. I kind of have a feeling where Brian is going with this. And it's actually my pick too. So Brian and I have the same pick. So Brian, I'm just going to start with you. And we know you like defense, and we also know you like violence, which I think you kind of interchange with defense.
And he loves Miami Heat. So we know where he's going.
That's right. So we kind of think we know where he's going with this. Defensive Player of the Year, the favorite right now, according as you can see up right now, is Anthony Davis, which I think is a good, safe pick. Brian, who do you have, and what do you think is the best bet for Defensive Player of the Year?
I have two guys I really like, and to my surprise, both of their names are actually on this list. The first one is the guy you were alluding to, was the guy that I wasn't going to mention first, but it's Bam Adebayo, who is plus, is that 8 or 900 there? 900. I love that value for him. Should have an all first team defense guy last year. I think he only got second, but I'm actually, I'm proud that he's actually fourth on this list. My other guy, and I don't think he's going to win because it doesn't appear that the NBA or whoever votes for Defensive Player of the Year.
I know where you're going.
It doesn't appear that they have the balls to vote for a guard to win Defensive Player of the Year. So I'm going with Marcus Smart.
I knew it.
Somebody else I really like here at plus 2,000.
Wow.
Oh my God. This is arguably or one of the very best defensive guards that I've ever seen. One of the best probably since Gary Payton. And I think this is somebody who has the strongest odds, literally speaking, to break that sort of wall down for, dudes, I guess 6'4" and under to win Defensive Player of the Year. Guards don't get enough credit in a guard-driven league for what they do defensively. I think at some point, Marcus Smart is the guy who can change that, at least right now in his prime. He's going to play a massive role in the Celtics team because Kemba Walker's injured, and he's going to take on more responsibilities. It also helps that he has Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum by his side. Tristan Thompson is going to be on the interior, Daniel Tice as well. Marcus Smart is somebody I like as far as value here and somebody who I think could actually win the award. So Bam Adebayo, Marcus Smart, those are the two guys I like here most.
Real quick on Marcus Smart, BetMGM has him at plus 2,500. Some other places plus 4,000. FanDuel plus 5,500. DraftKings plus 4,000. So, I mean, if you're looking to come up, Marcus Smart might be a place you want to look. It's not so bad. All right, Gerard.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with you. I know you value the good defensive effort as well too. Depoy, who's your best bet for Depoy?
So look, even though they're the favorites, right? AD and Rudy Gobert are plus 300. That's still decent, right? And so if you want to be safe, I think the Rudy thing may go over just because he's won it a few times already. So I think that narrative piece may be done. AD, I could see it. And like Brian, I love Bam at plus 900. My only concerns about AD and Bam are, again, the quick turnaround to start this season. But my sleeper, who I love, and this is if Doc can get this out of them, I love Ben Simmons. I'm sorry, Joel Embiid at plus 1100. Like I think Joel has, and he has the potential to be an MVP and a DPOY. Like he is that gifted and talented. If Doc can get him to lock in on that end, man, plus 1100, I like it.
Yeah, gotta like the value there. Murph, who's your best bet for D-Boy?
I actually think Defensive Player of the Year, I see it as one of the most narrative-driven awards there is. People tend to, once people say, "Oh, he's a good defensive player," people just gravitate to that and stick to that. So I look for guys who will already have received that kind of shine, and people already know them to be defensive players. So Gobert at plus 300 again. He's won it twice. I could easily see him winning it again. Giannis could win it back to back. Since people have already given him that recognition, and Bam is really the sleeper in terms of value, who I would go with, because he gets those accolades now. People know he's a great defender, even though he got snubbed last year, and that might play into it also. The fact that he got snubbed on those defensive teams last year, and now everybody recognizes that he's one of the best defenders in the game. So I would go Bam at plus 900.
Yeah, I would also go Bam at plus 900. That's my pick in terms of best bet, best value, for all the reasons you guys just mentioned. And I just think he's focused on taking his game to another level. And I think he, like Brian mentioned, is not going to be happy he was left off of first team all defense. So I think this is a guy coming out very motivated on the defensive end. And I definitely love Bam at plus 900. All right, next one that I think is a little bit interesting and can change from year to year, but also kind of fits into the narrative well. Sixth man of the year. Lou Williams has won it last time in a couple years. Montrezl Harrell, the winner last year, but switched teams. Also, no reason to think he can't do it again. Murph, who do you like for sixth man of the year?
I mean, I don't know how you ever pick anybody other than Lou Williams. I mean, the guy wins it almost every year. It's a mentality, and he's like the epitome of a sixth man of the year mentality. He goes into the year knowing what his role is. He's used to this kind of thing. And at plus 1,000, please, I'm taking Lou Will all day, and I'm not even talking about anybody else.
Damn. Okay. Confident in Lou Will. Plus 1,000. That's where you can get him at for BetMGM. Brian, who do you got for sixth man of the year? Is it going to be one of your Miami Heat boys, or are we taking it out of the state of Florida?
I have no idea what their starting lineup is going to be outside of Jimmy and Bam, most likely, because they can go in a lot of different directions. So no, it won't be anybody from the Miami Heat. I will say this: if Tyler Hero comes off the bench, though, like that's somebody I would probably put some money on. I actually really like Norman Powell here. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think the Raptors, like Kyle Lowry's going to start this year, obviously. I also think he's somebody that could be a trade piece at some point, but I think Norman Powell is going to be somebody, even if that happens, they're going to try and keep him in that six-man role. He had a better season last year than people may have recognized. I think Gerard recognized that probably as much as anybody here because he likes the Toronto Raptors and how they played last year. And they have OG Anunoby on that team too. So, they're just very interesting in Toronto. I like Norman Powell a lot. Dennis Schroeder is probably the safe bet to me. I'm actually surprised at how low he is on this list. And, those are the two guys that I probably like most.
So, look, right? Like Vegas, they keep building casinos. They don't knock them down, right? So these people know what the hell they're doing when they make these predictions. There's a reason why Lou Will and Gallinari and Clarkson and those are the guys who are plus 7, plus 9, plus 1,000. But those are, they're pretty good odds, right? Like you're still getting value there. Clarkson, I think, is interesting because if you watched a lot of Utah last year, he gets off the bench and he's like a spark plug. I just don't know. Utah's such a weird team for me. So I'm like, it's kind of a stay away. I will say this. Yeah, you want to be safe. You could always go with Lou. But again, it could be voter fatigue. Now, it's only one betting house has this player. But Karis LeVert at plus 1,200 is so fascinating because we saw him last year lead the Nets in points, rebounds, and assists when they were in the bubble. The year before in the playoffs when D'Angelo Russell was hurt, he was their guy, right? Scoring, doing all that against top guys. If he's coming off the bench and got to go against second units, Jesus, I think Karis might kill. Now that's barring a lot. And that's not a lot of time for, it's assuming KD's not injured, Kyrie, all that. He doesn't start. But if that's possible at plus 1,200, I think that's good value there.
No, I think that's good value there. You know where I'm going to go with this? I'm going to go with one of his teammates who has been role before and has played really good, Spencer Dinwiddie. You can get plus 1,200. One of the betting houses has him, and you're 1,000 plus 1,100. I think that's really good value for him. I think that's a guy who's comfortable in this role, who's going to be excited about this opportunity with this team to show what he can do in a contending situation. I expect Spence to have a good year. I like Dinwiddie in this. I like the value there. I also like Norman Powell. I'm with Brian on that a lot. I think that's good value with him there. But look, Murph is right too. Can you really go wrong betting against Lou Williams? Wrong betting against him there. Player, and this is tough. I mean, most improved sometimes can always go to like a second-year player to a third-year player. It can go to a player who's already at a high level and now taking his game to an MVP level. So it's really hard to predict. The favorite across the board right now is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's probably going to be in a horrible team with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Gerard, who do you like for most improved player?
That is a tough one. Brian mentioned the Toronto Raptors, and I love them. It's just, OG Anunoby at plus 4,000 is so interesting to me because if Toronto's going to maintain itself as, an upper echelon East team, let's say they even slip to like 4. Yeah, we know Pascal's got to be good, but OG's got to be a little bit better than he has been, right? And I think there's room in his game to expand. We know he can shoot the corner 3. We know he can defend. If he can add a little bit off the bounce, I think that's huge. So I'm going to go with OG at plus 4,000. I really like that there. Look, I mean, Michael Porter Jr. could win it because he might score a lot. Christian Wood is interesting at plus 800, but the Rockets might be a dumpster fire. So, I don't know there. But I like OG at plus 4,000.
That's an OG Anunoby. That's a good one. Murph, what do you say?
Like you said, this is such an unpredictable award. So I'm gonna throw some wild ones at you. Lonzo Ball plus 3,000 around there. If he improves on his play and they win, I think the key is if New Orleans starts winning and is a clear playoff team and he's playing better because of all the flack he's gotten, I think he might be in line to win that award. Also, like Marvin Bagley, a person who really, it's about completely to me about staying healthy. So if he were to stay healthy for most of the season and put up good numbers, that would dwarf what he did the previous season. So that I could see that. And then you got to throw Zion's name in here somewhere because everybody loves Zion, including me. And to me, an improvement for Zion is just games played. So if he plays most of the season, I mean, that's the most significant improvement that the entire league has had, okay? And we know the numbers will come along with that. So I think Zion's a real threat at plus 2,000. Any one of those three, it's a wide open category.
All right, Brian, who the Heat player? Because they just get moved, right?
So Christian Wood is the safe bet here. I think because he is on a Houston team where I don't quite know what is going to happen with James Harden, but we know that Christian Wood is going to play a lot and get the minutes and get the necessary looks. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is another safe pick here. DeAndre Ayton, who I talked about earlier, is probably the one that I would bet on the most here, even though I am against giving the most improved player to a top 5 pick. That just doesn't make sense to me. You were a top 5 pick. You're supposed to be very good at some point. But whatever. I think DeAndre is probably the guy that I would go with here. I also have 2 sleepers who aren't anywhere near the list or whatever the case may be, although I did see one of them as we went down in that plus 5,000 range. Taylor Horton-Tucker from the Los Angeles Lakers, who I like a lot, who didn't do anything last year, was a second-round pick and has came on in season and has done really well. I think he's going to eat up some of Kyle Kuzma's. I think he's going to play himself into that Lakers rotation. I think he's going to play meaningful basketball, and he's as good as, not all, but some Laker fans have sort of expected. I think very similarly about KZ Okpala down in Miami, who also didn't play much last year at all and can really come in, be in the rotation, play significant minutes, and really take a leap that very few of these guys could do because a lot of them played consistently last year. So my favorite will be DeAndre, but my dark horses, my sleepers, Taylor Horton Tucker in the Lakers and KZ Okpala down in Miami.
Some good sleepers there. I too like DeAndre Ayton at plus 1,600 because I'm with you, Brian. I think that he is the player on that team that Chris Paul is going to impact the most in terms of improvement. So, although I also agree with you on the top 5 pick and the most improved player, I kind of agree with you on that as well too. But I think DeAndre Ayton's a really good bet there as well. And Gerard also mentioned my other sleeper, which I thought was OG Anunoby, which I think is a really good value fit because I liked how he was playing last year. You could see the confidence coming on. And I think in the role that he's going to be needed now to help Pascal take a little bit of the burden off him in scoring, I think he's really going to step up and you're going to see that. So I like those two guys. All right, the last award, which I think is another one that's, I mean, it's kind of can be tough at times. Rookie of the Year. Really interesting. We have to remember this was not a very heralded draft class coming into this. I want to start with Murph on this one because one thing we know about Murph has his eye on college basketball better than anybody out there. And we also know that he loves LaMelo Ball. I'm not saying that he's going to pick him, but Murph, we know you know the college basketball talent extremely well. Who do you see as the best bet to make an impact and win Rookie of the Year in the NBA?
Well, it's a tough one. I got 3 guys who I kind of grouped together, and they're really, probably among the top 3 in terms of favorites in Vegas. So, yeah, LaMelo Ball, he has all the skills and the tools to do it. He's going to be on a pretty bad team, as we discussed before. But he obviously people know who he is. People care about him one way or the other. So he'll get plenty of attention. So if he has a good season at plus 400, he's a good bet. Anthony Edwards, who I wasn't really high on coming out the draft, but I've been hearing nothing but great things coming out of Minnesota about how he's looking there. Watched the preseason game, hitting his shot, very aggressive, playing defense. So Anthony Edwards could also have a shot, and I think Obi Toppin from the Knicks, if he giving you a solid something like a 15-7, 15-8, he might be able to do that also. I'm trying to, and then my sleeper would be Bol, as I mentioned earlier in the show, who's come out and stated that he's trying to win that award. Obviously, he has some experience. It's kind of like a Ben Simmons deal. Is he really a rookie? Probably not, but technically he is. And at plus 2,000, I think that's worth looking at.
Yeah, I like that. That's definitely one to look into. I'm with you on Obi Toppin. I'm just going to say my pick right now. I'm picking Obi Toppin. I think he's safe. I think he's one of the rookies that's in a situation where he's ready to come in and play. And I do think he's going to have an impact on the Knicks. So I definitely like his value there. The other guy I would mention is Denny Avdija for the Washington Wizards. He's looked really good in the preseason. Can do a lot with the ball in his hands. I think he's going to help a lot when Westbrook or Beal are not on the floor. Just in the way his game is and what he can do and help making other people better. So he's my dark horse. You can get him at plus 1,400, even plus 1,500 with points bet. So one to check out. Gerard, who do you like for Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year is such an interesting award just because, as we've been saying, like the draft class has been meh, and it's usually whoever scores the most points generally wins that, right? LaMelo's going to have a lot of interest, and he's plus 400, so he is the favorite. So if you want to toss a little money that way, I think, you won't get hurt there. He'll certainly have the ball in his hands a lot. And he'll, as I mentioned before, and this matters, he'll be on Bleacher Report highlights literally every single night. So that for whatever silliness he does. Now, James Wiseman, to me, his spread is so interesting from plus 450 to plus 950, depending on which betting house you look at. Now, the reason why I'm just interested in this, but I would stay away is because what that's telling me is that people don't know what they're looking at, right? Now, Wiseman may be really good defensively, but as a league, we're hard at measuring what the value of defense is, right? So I just don't know. I just thought that spread from 450 to 950 was really interesting. So, again, if you got money you feel like tossing around, do a little flyer on him. Who I love is who you mentioned, Dexter, Obi Toppin. Look, the Knicks are going to be bad. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, I think. He's going to score a lot of points. I could see him getting 16-8, 16-9. I mean, like, if he's doing that, it's pretty good. So I like him at plus 650.
Yeah, I think the only guy who I'm actually confident in winning the award here is James Wiseman. He's really the only person that I think will win Rookie of the Year that I could actually feel safe betting my money on. LaMelo Ball is going to get a lot of attention, as Gerard mentioned. Anthony Edwards, I don't quite know what to make of him yet, although, I think it can work in Minnesota, but I think James Wiseman's somebody who's going to have a very impactful rookie year. I could see him coming in, and I've been saying this for months now. I could see him walking into Golden State, even without Klay Thompson there, and still averaging like 15 and 10. I feel like if you're a big who averages about 15 and 10 as a rookie, even if it's 12 and 10, that gives you a great shot at winning Rookie of the Year in a draft class that I don't really love. My sleeper would be Tyrese Halliburton, but he's in Sacramento, and I don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's like I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how. Like, is he going to play with De'Aaron Fox? I guess he is, and like, is he going to get the touches? And then they got Bagley. I don't really know. Hassan Whiteside's back now. I don't know what's going on there. So,
stay away.
Yeah, so like, maybe I'll put $1 on Tyrese Halliburton, but James White is really the guy here that I feel most confident in, and I could see an Obi Toppin scenario too. To your point, Dexter and Gerard and Jamal, I think you all made this point about Obi Toppin sort of getting a lot of looks in New York City, similar to what we expected out of RJ Barrett last year, except I think it'll be better this year because they have Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, I could see that for Obi Toppin. All right, we're gonna wrap the show up really quickly, but we are always gonna look at some prop bets, and there's some ridiculous prop bets. So we decided that we're gonna talk about prop bets that are out there that we'd like to see happen. They might not have been made yet. We may not have seen them anywhere. They might be a little bit ridiculous, but just some NBA prop bets that we would like to see happen. Brian, you are the king of ridiculousness, as we all know. So I got to start with you. What's the most ridiculous or absurd prop bet that you would like to see made that you would actually put some money on?
The next NBA player who is going to date somebody in the Kardashian Jenner family, and that lore. Or you could even go like the next NBA player who's going to get caught up with one of the city girls, the next NBA player who's going to get caught up with, I don't even know, what some of these other women's names are. But just things in that vein. I would like to see those bets. We got people betting on who's Jake Paul gonna fight next, and LeBron is plus 5,000. I think we can get some of these things, taken care of in that way. So I would like to see some stuff like that. Also, fights. Like, what are the odds that Bobby Portis punches Giannis in the face in practice? What are the odds? What are the odds that
not high? Yeah, not high.
What are they? Look, Bobby Portis could take Giannis. I'm saying,
but
that's a good height, weight. This same height, same weight class.
He'll be cut the next day.
Exactly.
He's gonna be unemployed. I don't think he wants to take that risk.
Exactly.
PJ Tucker and James Harden, like Dexter mentioned. So anything that's like scandal and fights that would have my attention.
Oh my God.
All right, Murph, what's the NBA? Give us some NBA prop. What's the NBA prop you want to see?
NBA prop I want to see. I want to see. I don't know whether this would be. Yeah, I guess it would be. You'd have to put odds on it, yes or no. Whether Trae Young will hit another game winner and not be congratulated by any of his teammates, which is one of the wildest things I saw last season. And I would say yes. I think that's going to happen. I think he's going to hit a game winner, and then you're going to be shocked that no one jumps on him and no one gives him a high five because he's a little insufferable.
I want to know the odds are on that.
So it's him. He's a bad teammate. That's what you're saying. I got you. Okay.
This is young and immature. That's all.
You're right.
Rondo's gonna be great for him.
Oh yeah, really good.
Yeah,
that's a good prop bet right there.
Yeah,
that Rondo swing on Trae Young.
That actually makes me want to take Jamal's bet more now that I thought Rondo's on the team. Yeah, it's more likely. I take that bet. Murph,
it's either you have to make it as a team that does it first to make a prop, or you can set an over-under line. Now, this is what I'd love to see. Who is the first team to say, so it's either the first team to say no to Kyrie Irving burning sage pregame, or the over-under on the number of teams that will say no to Kyrie Irving burning sage pregame. If I was going to set the over-under, I'd set the line at 5.5.
Wow. So Gerard and I, we have connected bets with Kyrie burning the sage. And I'm all about the positive energy. So I'm for this. But I want to know the over-under on amount of teams, arenas that Kyrie will be able to successfully circle the court and burn the sage. Will he be able to do it in all 30 arenas? That's what I want to see. Or is somebody going to come and be like, nah.
I'm going to over because I think after what they saw in Boston, I think all teams are going to just front on him. Like, nah, son, not here. Not here.
Nolan ain't hearing that shit. We know that. Knicks ain't going to let him do that.
When I set the line for teams that say no, I set it at 5.5 because looking at teams that have beef with him to begin with, right? So Boston already said yes, so whatever. I didn't count them. But Lakers because of LeBron beef.
No, it's all right.
The Warriors because he hit that shot against them in the finals and they want to be petty. The Knicks because, local rivalry, petty. The Cavs because you left us. And an interesting one, the Nuggets because him and Jamal Murray had that beef that time. Murray scored 50 points in that game. I'm like, so those are about 5 teams. Like, ooh, we set it at 5.5. You take the over or under there. I was like,
also, Pat Riley ain't gonna Pat Riley is for me.
I'm banging the over right now.
Yeah, there are just certain teams when you look across the league, they're just not gonna let that fly. I think the Knicks also, they're I'm not gonna let Kyrie Irving blow, sage over.
Hey, if it up to me, I'm saying no. If any team I'm on, I'm saying no. And
I'll let one of my players do it.
Why? Yeah, exactly. Why am I trying to make him comfortable?
Right. You are the visiting you are the visiting person here.
I want you to have a horrible game.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep that sage in the Barclays Center. We don't need that here. All right. Before we close, we're gonna do a little segment called Keep It 100. Everybody has $100 to spend on bets to start the NBA season. How would you spend the money? You can spend it however you want across a couple of bets. Put all of it on one thing. How are you spending the money, Brian? How are you spending your money on the Miami Heat? Just let us know.
Damn. I can't even come at you with the element of surprise.
No.
We know.
All right, so what I'm gonna do with my 100, right, is I'm gonna go with the list of Miami Heat bets that I've made on the show, right? So we're gonna put 25 on them winning the finals. We're gonna put 25 on Bam winning Defensive Player of the Year. We're gonna put 25 on KZ Okpala winning Most Improved Player, and we're gonna set 25 aside for when Jimmy Butler plays against James Harden the next time, and I'm just gonna wait and see what the props are available, and I'm just gonna use that on that night.
Seems like pretty resourceful in spreading out that money. I like that. All right, Murph, how you spending $100?
All right, yeah, I'm gonna break it up 4 ways too. $25 bets. I'll go 25 on the Knicks over. Love that one. I'm gonna go 25 on the Heat getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think I cannot see them not making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm gonna put 25 on AD as MVP at plus 900. I love that one. And then 25 on Lou Williams, 6th Man of the Year.
Okay, everybody's spreading their money across categories like this. Gerard, what are you doing?
Well, so I broke it down into 2 different ways you can do it, right? So if you're like, all right, man, I'm really tight with this $100. I ain't really trying to come off it and lose it. All right, let's go with some safe bets for you. So I take $50, put it on Luka to win MVP, and I take 50 and put on the Lakers to win the title, right? 2 safe bets with decent odds, right? Because you got plus 400 with Luka, and the Lakers are what? Plus 250? So, I mean, you might make some money there. Now, if you're like, I don't really care about this 100, whatever, I can come off it. You can go with something wild like Heat winning the title. What's that? Plus 1,800. You're going to make some money there. But if you're still kind of like, I want something that is possible, potentially probable, but not likely, right? So something with some pretty good value. Karis LeVert at plus 750 to make an all-star team. Not a bad way to spend $100.
Not a bad way. We're going to get into that more down the road with the guys making all-star teams and all that stuff. So we'll get into that. I'm not going to do the crazy thing and put all my money on the Knicks. I'm not doing that. But I still do like that Knicks over-under. I will put $50 on that. And I also will put another $50. I like the odds of AD winning MVP at plus 900. I'd put $50 there. Call it a day. And hope that the Knicks don't disappoint me and I'm not somewhere crying at the end of the season. That's all I can hope for. This Murphy's shaking his head.
All you need is 22 and 50. Okay.
That's all. Yeah, all I need. And then you know what happens? I get 22.
You're gonna be sweating out that last game. They're gonna be 19 and whatever. You're like, damn, I need that one win. That one
I was gonna put one of my 25s on RJ Barrett, just like averaging. You know what I mean? But we'll see.
All right. Of NBA picks and props, we want to thank you joining us. You can follow what we do with Backpack Broadcasting. You also follow the Props Network on all their social media accounts. We will be back with another show on Christmas Eve. We went through a lot today because obviously we got to kick games. Some of the bets prop. The number one Heat fan in the world. My man Jamal Murphy, who is president of the Trae Young fan club, and Gerard Hector, who's trying to figure out if the Clippers can come back from that embarrassing 3-1 deficit lead that they blew last year. He's trying to make sure we get things right. Please bet wisely, bet safely, and until next time, y'all, peace.